Hello my friends, and how are you doing? I want to use my voice that I have in the AI community to talk about the changes and give my perspective on them, and I don't want to make this boring at all. Now, I use this rather attention-grabbing title of post-human art, but that is actually what it is. So let me explain how it comes to this term. Please let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos like this where I talk about my opinions concerning AI. And I want to talk about two concepts. The one concept is authorship in art. The other concept is the change of the symbol in art. Now, again, not boring, so I will simplify this. A symbol in art is basically an expression, a meaning that is not apparent in the image itself. An example for that would be a pigeon or a dove that stands for freedom, or you have a flame that stands for wisdom. So looking at the image alone will not give you the meaning of that symbol, basically, right? And that means you have to have a certain intention behind that. Now, this intention can be two-faced, and in the history of art, of course, the symbol came from a human source because this is the only source we have. Nothing else has this kind of intent to create human purpose, human meaning, human expression and art in the way we do, and of course also in the art that we consume, right? Even though animals make cool stuff, we don't look at it in the same way as museum art or as the designs we have on our shirt. It's a little bit different. Okay, so like I said, this is two-faced. What do I mean by that? Or two-sided, better said. Well, there's also a second form of the meaning of the symbol, and that, of course, is the person who looks at it. Now, of course, I just said, hey, 1 second, the meaning of a symbol comes from what is put into a symbol. Yes, it can be put into a symbol at the moment when it is created as an intention of, hey, I want to show you something, so I'm using a dove that is flying as a symbol for freedom. But this can also come from the other side, where you look at something and it creates meaning inside of you. You feel touched by it, you feel moved by it, it becomes maybe a trend in culture, it connects a lot of people with each other, and by that there is a connected symbol created through the perception of the work. Which means, of course, that you can create a symbol after the image for the symbol has been created. And this is very relevant for AI art, of course. Now, I'm not saying that AI art is happening without humans. So you can use AI as a tool in art. You can also use the output of AI directly as the visualization of your concept, but still have a concept behind that. But of course, we also have to take into consideration that AI has the ability to automate things, but also to create new ideas, new concepts, work with us together, maybe at some point work completely independent from us. So we have a process where the artist might no longer be part of the necessary process in art because, and this is like the first time in history, we can create content that is good enough for consumption without any human being part of that process. Like I said, in most cases right now, still there is a human in the process, doing the prompting, changing, in painting, selecting the images, having a concept behind that, then creating something like a director, like a curator. But like I said, in the future, it might be more independent than that. And that is a very interesting concept indeed. Now, another thing I want to point out here is the authorship in art through the artist. And you might think, wow, this is super necessary because like the artist is the one who creates art, and what is art without the artist? Well, actually, I want to tell you that this is a rather new concept. The modern art, contemporary art, is not that old. It's a very new concept. Before that, of course, they have been seen as artists in a certain way, but they have more been seen as a craft as handyman who would paint something for you, and you said, hey, I want to have a portrait because I'm the king, or hey, I want to have a picture for my church because I'm the priest, or I'm the pope, and you do that for me and I decide how it looks. You have, like, of course, inspiration and style and all these kind of cool things, but I'm the boss. I'm going to tell you what I want to have. So in the past, art wasn't there in that way as we perceive it today. And there is nothing in the concept of art that actually tells you the artist has to be the source of art. Actually, modern art as well as contemporary art, like modern art is a period in art. This is why I say contemporary art, because contemporary art is right now, and modern art is a period that is already over because we already had postmodern art and so on. They actually also fought the concept that the artist has to be the main source of art. So they experimented already with things like found footage, with the ready-made, with automation, with randomness, a lot of different concepts that would separate the artist from the artistic work in the endeavor to set art free from the limitations and from the basically overlook or reign of the artist. They said, well, art has to be for the people, so art can also be created by the people. Art can be a process that happens inside of the culture while culture happens, right? Now, there's a lot of layers to this, of course. Like, this is concept, this is philosophy that is very complex. So this discussion has been going on for well over 2,000 years in all kinds of different shapes and forms and traditions and concepts and worldviews. It's a very complex thing, actually. And you can dive into that and talk about that, for example, with ChatGPT. So in this video, I want to make it rather simplified. But to give you one source, maybe, there is a book from Roland Barthes. He's a French philosopher and author. He wrote a book about the death of the author. Now, he was talking about literature and writing, but there is not really a difference to other art forms. So, also in his time, and he is not contemporary, he doesn't live anymore, he already wrote about that concept that art shouldn't be bound to the artist. Art shouldn't be limited to people who feel that they can create art. And also the story, the intent of the artist, the biography of the artist should not define the artistic work. Now, if you think, well, that's strange, why would it be like that? I want to give you several examples. The first example is that a lot of artists don't talk about their art because they fear that if they talk too much about their ideas, their concepts, their intents, their meanings for the artwork, it will take away from the artistic work, because you look at the work with already a primed perspective on their art, and they don't want to do that. So they will not talk about what the meaning is. You have to figure it out for yourself. This already sets up an art that is still created by a human, but you have to decipher the meaning through the visual language that you know from the time in which it was created. So you have some experience, and by that experience and also by the whole dialogue around it, you can decipher kind of what the meaning is, but also it will create a discord, and art is a discord because art is the visual form of philosophy. Now, there is other concepts out there. For example, the modern concept we have today, think about K-pop. A lot of us love K-pop. We have the stars, we have the music, we have the lyrics. There's a lot of stuff out there. But we are not Korean, so we don't really understand the cultural background. We don't really understand the meaning. So while we dance to the music, while it becomes part of our history, part of our culture, part of our everyday life, we construct new meaning for that in the way that we perceive that meaning, right? So for us, it takes on a new role. And there is another example, and this is less human guided, I would say, and that example is actually technology. So if you think about social media, for example, if you think about smartphones, like probably a lot of you have been around, and there have always been smartphones around in your time and social media been around in your time, but that wasn't always the case. And also in your lifetime, new platforms came up and new technologies came up, like for example 360 video that has been now become commonplace. Everybody can do it, or TikTok with the shorts video, stuff like that. they change how we interact as people. They change how we perceive culture. They change the rhythm, the pacing, the speed in which culture happens, and how culture influences each other across the world, often in real time, often in a switch and change that happens maybe on a daily basis, maybe even on an hourly basis, depending on what the subject is. And sometimes, for example, you have this disconnect between the distributors of the past, for example, music labels, to now TikTok or social media, YouTube Shorts or Instagram becoming that source where people become famous because a short clip of their music that is maybe 15 seconds long, 20 seconds long, becomes so famous globally that the star behind that music becomes a music star because that music was used in a lot of, I don't know, dancing shorts and baking shorts and Minecraft shorts and all that kind of stuff. It is completely disconnected from the stage, from the art, from the producer, from the label, from the vinyl, whatever, from the club. It happens on your phone. You listen to it for 15 seconds and you think, wow, that's cool. And all of your friends know it. So it creates an association. And this association creates a short-lived trend, which is kind of like a short-lived culture, which is like a history that you build in your memory, in your life, where you say, oh, this is part of my youth. This is part of my identity. So from there on out, this defines you, even though you might not know where is the source coming from. What does it mean? Because you create that meaning for yourself. And all of these examples show that the symbol in art doesn't really require in any regard that you know where it comes from, what it means, what the intent was, where it should go. There's a lot of songs out there, for example, that are misunderstood, but you still like them and you still celebrate them for what they are. Like, there's often, for example, songs that the musicians themselves don't like. They hate that music, but you think it's one of the best things ever. I might be wrong here, but I think, for example, the Beastie Boys have made the song, Fight for Your Right to Party, and it is actually thought as being a joke about the party culture, but then it became a party anthem that people used in the completely other direction of, yes, we want to party. So it was completely different intent, and the Beastie Boys don't like it at all, but now accepted that it has become a cultural phenomenon, and everybody knows that song. I know it's old stuff, but like, just stick with me for a second here. I'm old culturally, but I still like consume new stuff also. But of course, the references might be a little bit from the older time. Anyways, you know what I mean? And this gives us so much understanding, concepts for the future of how AI might work, even as independent art, even without authorship, being a flow of artistic expressions that we fill with intent and that we enrich with symbols, with meaning that might not be in the work, but because of the way we have a system that filters out content, like for example in social media, where you see the same posts over and over, stuff can become cult and culture and trend, and we fill it with meaning over time without knowing the source or caring about where it comes from, but it means something to us. And in that regard, I feel like AI can add a completely new dimension. And this could be like a multi-episode series because the topic is rather complex. But maybe one thing I want to throw out here at the end is AI might not have the human limitations because we and every artist is an individual grow up in a certain time, in a certain culture, with certain beliefs, with certain views on the world, with certain fears and hopes and all these kind of things. And that makes us human. It's wonderful and it's amazing. And it creates innovation in art and creates who we are. But at the same time, it is severely limiting in how we can connect things because we only can ever be us and only understand the rest of the world in a tiny little way. AI can do much more. AI is a universe of possibilities that doesn't really have to rank anything inside of it. It can value anything and everything in the same way, and because of that, mix artistic expression and styles in the wildest way and show us concepts we couldn't even imagine before. And I think this will dramatically innovate how we perceive art, how we view art, how we use art, and it might even lead to the concept in art that the author is actually not that important in art, and that the symbol is actually coming from the viewer rather than from the artist. So we have to redefine that role. We have to rethink that role. And this is basically what I want to say to the community. Think about the new concept. How is that shift? What does post-human art mean? How does it elevate us? This is the most important question for me, because I see things in a positive light. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye.